there may well be evolutionary reasons. I'm not an evolutionary biologist, and I don't see why we would need to go any further than bestiality is icky.
This is where I think the problem is with the way that you're framing this, because I always felt that Jordan Peterson's one of his biggest talents was being able to take sort of moral intuitions and people's general feelings about things like having sex with children is wrong, having sex with animals is wrong, and he was able to give voice and understanding and words and logic to explain why it's useful and beneficial for society to maintain and retain these moral feelings. And the importance of that is because you have people who want to just deconstruct every moral norm. And if you don't have an explanation for why it's bad, then you're just giving them the keys to deconstruct everything.
But, yes,
okay,
exactly.
But why should I not be able to appeal to my sense of sacredness?
Because then they just say, well, I have a different sense of sacredness. So
yeah,
and that's why I think you're a pedo who needs the wood chipper.
Okay, but that doesn't solve the issue.
That's a makes right argument.
Wood chippers
right
solve
there.
a lot of pedo issues.
Well, no, because
how is that not authoritarian, Sargon? You're coming off like a total authoritarian.
Yeah, because if you have two people,
you're the guys who said that the Mongols are the most moral people in history.
You said that.
You did.
Yes,
you did. You straw man us.
No, I did not straw man.
Yes, you did.
It's the exact logic you laid out.
No.
You were appealing to contingent factors.
Wait a minute. If you have two people that have a moral disagreement and both their moral disagreement is on their aesthetic feeling about a situation, how can these people ever come to any sort of agreement or consensus about how to live together?
By deciding on aesthetic criteria. Normally things like virtue.
But what is the?
But they have different virtues.
And what's the measuring stick of the?
I don't know. I'm not a pedo.
Well, no, but that's the point. Right, I don't think we're gonna. I mean, maybe we need to get Vorsh on so he can tell us. But like,
you had a conversation with Amos. I'm sure he had all sorts of bizarre logic.
No, he didn't. Like, I couldn't understand his perspective at all. I thought he was making a libertarian argument of some sort, but I had no. Like by the end of it, I was just baffled, and that's why, until he went to jail or whatever it was, I thought he was trolling. Right. Because he didn't have any kind of logically coherent argument that I could extract from what he was saying at all. I was convinced right up until the point where he got arrested or whatever that he was trolling. I was like, okay, well, egg on my face. But no, the if you can't establish why there is like a virtue in what you're defending, then how is it that I don't win that moral argument?
I don't understand what you're saying, because we are establishing a scientific criteria for measuring those systems, and we're talking about them.
But wait a minute,
that changes.
Yes, but okay, I think I understand what's going on. The reason here is that if everyone agreed with each other morally, then we wouldn't have to have this conversation. If everyone had the same moral intuitions, if everyone had the same moral aesthetics, we wouldn't have to have this conversation. The reason we are having this conversation is because most people don't agree. Now, there's obviously large overlaps about things like having sex with children, but there's obviously lots of moral questions that are far more complicated and far more divisive.
Abortion.
Right, like abortion or something.
Okay,
like
well,
that,
what's virtuous about abortion?
Or something. But hold on. So that's why, to me and Adam, it's important and interesting to have these conversations, being able to break them down and to understand why people feel this way, so that there is some way of communicating with people that you have grand moral differences with, and maybe you can understand each other.
Exactly.
But you've got no criteria by which to judge the moral actions.
Yes, we have a ton of criteria. What do you?
Okay, name your criteria.
Well, we're breaking them down into moral foundations. We're breaking them down into different moral intuitions. You have different moral intuitions. Like you're activating so many different moral intuitions when you're making your arguments. When you're talking about loading people into the wood chipper, which I'm not against loading pedos into the wood chipper, but like if you're talking about people who are just having a conversation about this, loading them into the wood chipper, I
didn't say that.
My authority subversion moral foundation gets a little bit activated. My liberty oppression foundation gets a little bit activated. My care harm foundation. Like we're talking about different moral foundations.
Yeah, but you know,
they're
I'm a free
different.
speech absolutist.
It's
right?
not all. Yeah, I don't. Okay, but how do we have a conversation in
the act of doing something, right? And I've explicitly said that there is moral content in the intention, in the act, and in the consequence. And we are
yes, but that moral content can be broken down into subcategories that are useful to discern. A lot of times, listen, a moral dilemma a lot of times is created because two competing moral intuitions are in conflict. One of the conflicts with the vegans is the care harm moral foundation against the liberty oppression foundation. I don't want some vegan telling me that I can't eat meat. When they tell me, because fuck them. Why are they wrong? Why are they acting like a domineering alpha coming in here and telling me what to do? Fuck off.
Okay, but that just says that if they didn't come in like a domineering alpha and they approached you in a submissive, sort of coquettish way with a persuasive argument, you'd have to agree with them.
It's still no, you just ignore them. But.
Yeah.
Well, no. If you were going to have a discussion with a vegan,
you're missing the point. You're missing the point, Sargon. You're missing the point. I am making a point about how there are different moral intuitions that are in conflict. Yes, I love cute, cuddly bunny rabbits. I don't want to see a little hair on their head hurt.
Rabbits are delicious.
See,
I'd eat a rabbit.
Moral intuitions in conflict. That's what's interesting. The whole idea behind movies and stuff like that is when moral intuitions come into conflict. It's interesting to examine them. So
but what I'm saying though is that you can't make any moral judgments based on this analysis.
But we aren't making moral judgments, and our whole purpose is not to make these moral judgments. I think that's. I think this is no. Let me finish. I'm in the middle of saying something here, Sargon. Don't interrupt. Don't interrupt, Sargon. I'm in the middle of saying something. Okay.
Mom, Dad, stop fighting.
Hey now, Mahler.
Oh, Mahler joined in. Oh, great, sweet.
So finish your thought, Adam. Sorry.
I'm just saying that these moral intuitions in conflict is what's interesting to examine. You can't necessarily, like the whole point of making moral prescriptions is to do it from within a moral community, from in a moral context. Yeah. The justification is important. That's part of the moral system. And a lot of the conflict that's aroused now is over the justification. And I just find your justification wanting. So.
Well, it's not virtuous to have sex with children is a wanting justification.
That is an area where, fortunately, most people agree. So we don't have a problem.
Why can't you make a moral judgment on that?
Well, we are not going to get further along in the places where people do disagree viciously, like abortion, without figuring out what is actually going on here.
Sure, but I think that we can make moral, like you said specifically, we're not going to make a moral judgment about that. It's like, right, so we've taken morally judging pedos off the table. Is that wise?
The justification is what we're talking about, okay? The justification is what the justification is what the entire video is about. If you want to come in here and say, okay, I think there's many different justifications that you can use. Right now, the justification you're using is it hurts Sargon's fifis. I don't know that that's a good justification, okay?
Right. You think it's wrong for me to say that an adult has a moral responsibility to protect the sexual integrity of a child rather than violate it.
That's a much better justification.
That's my feelings.
No, but
I can't give you a scientific study that shows that. That's how I feel about it.
You've brought in a whole different set of context here. You're talking about protecting a child. You're talking about
that's just 'cause I value
other
that.
Individuals.
Yeah, but that's just values. That's my values. That's what my feelings are. That's the aesthetic values that I have when it comes to the moral opinion that I have about the sanctity of a child. Or you've got the divorce position that doesn't seem to care, right? And you're like sat there going, well, it's just your fifis.
If you have,
sure.
Which is a better justification, God or some sort of empirical study for modern people? Which is a better justification?
I'm saying I am.
Well, because it's a justification. We're having a conversation about justifications here.
I don't need to appeal to God. My own sense of morality is enough for me.
I'm not asking you to appeal to God, Sargon. I am talking about God as a justification that many people use. There are different justifications people use for different things. I know. The justification you're using is, what is the justification you're using?